along this information to your friends. Hi, everyone. I won't go through introductions. You know how I am. I think most of you at least recognize the names of everybody else on here. This has been, as Brian was just saying, a very, very interesting legislative session so far, to say the least. It's Republicans are back in control, and you can tell. My own personal opinion is Rick Ladd doesn't know how to lead a meeting to save his life. He wants to limit everybody except the ones that he likes. And it was happening in the Senate committee this morning too. I was in Senate Ed listening to a bill on SROs and school and just different restrictions and MOUs that they should have for SROs this morning. And everybody who was in support of the bill, Senator Ruth Ward, who's the chair, let them go at least 5 to 8 minutes. But if you were not in support of it, she cut you off before 3 minutes was up, and it was, that's it, you're done, not even let you finish. I mean, it's been pretty interesting. So Brian and I have been kind of tag teaming most of the education stuff. He's been doing a lot more in the finance and other committees. But the really good thing about this session, I can say the one good thing that's come out of the pandemic is that they have had to adapt and do all of these hearings remotely, which means that people have the chance to actually sign up in opposition or support and to sign up to testify, or at least submit written testimony. And I think that's probably, hey Kevin, that's probably the best thing that's come out of this, because educators, you know, in the past haven't had a chance to say too much. And we keep hearing from the legislature that, you know, the best stories are ones we hear from people, and we need more people involved. But it hasn't been able to happen because it's been during school times. And so people have been in class or in the schools, you know, doing their work. So that's probably the one good thing that's come out of this pandemic, is we've been able to do that. It really got shown earlier last week when House Bill 20 came up, and there were 3,000 people signed in opposition, and I think 600 something signed in support. No way would you even get 100 signed in support or opposition in a normal legislative session, you know, just because you couldn't get the people there. So the fact that they had that many, and even in some of today's hearings that were going on, the one I was in the Senate, there was, you know, 60 people signed up in support and only 30 in opposition, things like that. So this truly has been amazing for us to be able to do this. So tonight we thought it would be a good chance to remind people and show people how to actually sign up and how easy it is to sign up, to sign in opposition or support, or to submit testimony. The other good thing I can say is the Republicans, for whatever reason, haven't been following the same order that they usually do. So normally when we're at a hearing in person, they take all of the they take the representatives and senators first that might want to speak on it. Then they take public comment, then they take organizations, and then they take lobbyists. So literally we are like the last people to sign. It's like us, the school boards and the superintendents, we're the last people, you know, to go before the committee to testify. And everyone by that point is like, blah, 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 blah. It's them again. We hear them all the time. You know, it's like Charlie Brown's teacher talking in the back of the room. This time, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because we're signing up early, but we've been called on first, except for Brian today. But for the most part, we've been called first. House Bill 20, we got called first. You know, we were one of the first, after all the out-of-staters, we were one of the first ones to speak. And I had my whole thing planned, and then I thought, you know, I'm gonna save some time and tell them that I already submitted testimony, because they hate it when you just read your testimony. And then they called me, and I was like, whoa, I'm not, you know, I wasn't even ready. So that's kind of a good thing too. But as you guys know, that has been not recessed, but kind of put on hold until Thursday. I think they're probably getting all their voucher people out to get this signed in support, so that they can boost up the numbers, because that they hate admitting that, you know, over 3,000 people signed in opposition to it. And it's still open for us. So if you haven't signed in opposition yet, you can. There's still a chance to testify. They're holding the meeting. What does it start at? 10, Brian, or 9?
9 o'clock. Yep.
9, and I think they're holding until 5.
Well, at the end of the session, the last hearing, they still had like 100 people left to testify, at least. I think it might have been even closer to 150. So
they'll keep it to 3 minutes each, but that's still, help me on math.
I don't, I guess it will depend whether, all those people come back.
Yeah,
If they do, or more people come, it's going to be hard to finish in even an 8-hour time span
yeah.
because,
And so basically, I mean,
yeah.
the thing is, you can sign up to testify. They'll call your name, but if you come on later, I think, and you put your hand up, they might still recognize you. I think. I don't know about that, Brian.
Yep,
Is
they're
that,
supposed to. Yep.
yeah, so you can still come in. So I mean, we're still encouraging people to sign in opposition to it because we want those numbers there. Brian's going to give a little update later on about some other things happening. Obviously, there's some sneaky stuff going on this year. I'm not going to lie. I feel like, they're execing things. I haven't seen it so much in House Ed, but I know other people on other committees have been complaining that they'll end a hearing and then they exec it right away. And somebody, I forget who it was, I think it was Representative Lay, not Doug Lay, Tam, actually said that they were told they have to be ready to exec after every single hearing. So they're being really sneaky this year. I don't know, Brian might have a different take on it, but I don't like what they're doing. They're just being slimy, sneaky. It's not good. So Brian and George, we're gonna go through how to actually sign in and put it up on the screen. If you haven't signed in opposition yet on HB 20, this is perfect time to, black your screen out you want and sign up while we're doing it right now. It's super easy. You can tell your friends how to do it. It's crazy, although I still have Brian do it for me. But I've heard it's so easy to do. So he's going to go through that and then we can see what else is going on. Oh, and I didn't say thank you yet for everything you guys have been doing. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to do that part first, George?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Sign in.
Chris talking to me.
I mean, or I can do the dashboard and then you can do the like through it. How's that?
Go ahead. Take it away.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Can you see our website? Just nod some heads and there you go. Or thumbs up. Thank you. All right. So everything is on here. Over here, just click on the old legislative action. And up comes the 3 big buttons. On a lot of the legislative updates that we'll be sending out from now on, these buttons will appear at the bottom of every email, a legislative email, so it's easy to get right back to it. Real quickly, just let me show you what we have on here. The bill tracker, we use Legiscan. It is an automated program, and as you can tell, I'm not going to scroll down very fast, but because I don't make anybody dizzy, but this is the highlighted bills report. So all the bills that are in yellow are the ones that are the highest priority for us. We've given them a 10 out of 10. The bill number is here. You can click on that and it'll take you to the text of the bill. You'll still be in Legiscan. It doesn't take you to the New Hampshire site, but it keeps you there. It tells you what topic we've put it in. We have some buckets that we kind of keep things in, funding, safety, labor, charter schools, alternative schools. Quick summary of the bill, who the sponsors are. That's generally a big warning sign about what's contained in the bill, and then the last statuses of the bill, where it is, what's happening to it. So if you look at HB 20, the meeting was continued to 211, and it actually has the link in there to join for Zoom. And it looks like, Megan, they're going to do the executive session, time permitting, from the time the committee is initially convened. So if you slide down, if you start looking on the left hand over here, if it's red, we are in opposition to it. If it's green, we support it. If it's yellow, it's one of our priority bills. Just going to slide down a little bit. If it's blue, we're watching it. Megan said there's a lot of tricky stuff going on this year. Some of the bills we're not really sure how they're gonna rear their true colors. So we're monitoring it. So blue means we're monitoring it, and anything that isn't a 10 is no longer highlighted, and now it's just different alternating colors, so you can keep track of them. You can also get this through our the app. You'll see it in a mobile screen size. Go back to the dashboard. I'm just going to skip over to the calendar for a second, so then we'll land on the Action Center. If you want to see what's going on, basically, again, the bills when they're being heard on the calendar. And it's a little strange because of the way Legiscan does it, but like the next hearing on HB 10 is February 10th. Here's HB 20, the hearing is on February 11th. And if you click on these, you can get a little more detail from it, from Legiscan. Legiscan also produces a calendar report every day. Brian and Megan get it. If that's something you're interested in, I don't know, guys, if you want, maybe we can set up a subscribe to the calendar, and we can send that out to other folks too, if you think that's a good idea. So we'll see on that. So you have the legislative calendar full of bills we're tracking a lot. And then the Legislative Action Center. So here's where we've got our bills that we would like you to do something with. It's divided up into 3 columns, and we're using pictures because all of the middle school teachers told me I need to do that. So if it's a voucher-oriented bill, it's the upside-down schoolhouse. If it's a ALEC-related bill, ALEC must be stopped. But anyway, the bill title and some of the talking points in the left-hand column, some basic information about the bills in the middle column, and then the right column are the actions that you can do. And for this case, for HB 20, it's being heard on February 11th at 9 a.m. You can sign in opposition. So you click on that, or you can sign in opposition. You can click on that. All the data you need to sign in is underneath that. So you would go to Brian, you want me to step through this, or you want to step through it?
You can go ahead.
Okay. So if you click on sign in opposition, it's going to take you out of here. I do want to go back just real quick. Okay. You would need to know the date that the bill is being heard, the committee that the bill is in, and the bill number. Okay. And so you kind of need to know that before you click out. So it's on the 11th. I'm going to click on the 11th. It is in the Ed Committee, so I'm going to click on House Ed. Everybody remember the number of the bill? Well, there's only one on the 11th, so it's easy. So HB 20. Click on HB 20. I am going to be a member of the public today, and I'm representing myself. So if you would click something else, as a lobbyist, that would let you fill other things in there. I oppose this bill. You could click I support it, I oppose it, I'm neutral on it. If you want to speak, here's where you click I wish to speak on this bill. If you don't want to speak, leave it open. Okay, you're just registering your support or your opposition to the bill. Gives you the details here before you continue on. And then you want to hit continue. And I've already registered so I'm going to, my wife I know is in opposition to this bill. So we're going to add her name.
Don't do this for other people, guys.
No, I have her explicit permission to do this tonight, so that's why I'm doing. And then I hit continue. Note on the bottom here, okay? You're going to keep track of who wants to speak, and there's some small print about if you weren't recognized, you can raise your hand in the Zoom meeting, but the sign-in sheet's going to be closed at, looks like noon on the day of the hearing. So you hit continue, and you get one last chance to go, yep, I agree with all that, and bam, there you go. Don't leave quickly, because and I'm going to let Brian go more in depth on this, but clearly we have mastered the art of overloading the count. It was 3,198 to 600 to 5 last time. That's a 5-to-1 margin, okay? So we're good at clicking the boxes. Our next way to raise the bar here is then to start submitting some written testimony. So you don't have to speak, but you can submit some written testimony. So this is the email address that you would send your comments to. So not only now can you sign in opposition, but you can also send your comments. They don't have to be long. You can use the talking points that we've given you. But if you click on that email address, you can submit written testimony. And that's it. I don't know what sign up again means. I'm hoping it means you can sign up for another bill, Brian. I don't think
It does. Yeah, it
Okay,
basically takes you back to the beginning of the screen. So,
Okay.
and I think that was a great summary, George. the couple things I would add is when you get to that final review on the before you click submit, really it gives you a summary of what position you took, whether you're speaking or not. Just double check that. I was testifying this afternoon on House Bill 607, which was a local education freedom savings account bill, a local voucher bill. And when I introduced myself, Rick Ladd said, stopped me, says, Brian, you checked that you're in favor of this bill. Is that what you meant to do?
Oh.
And I said, you caught me. I wasn't trying to throw you for a loop, but no, I am here in opposition to the bill. And so
at least he knows you and was able to say that to you.
yes. But for everybody else who he might not recognize the name, definitely double check that you're checking the right box on that. The other thing about the written testimony I would just add is that, as George referenced, we have some basic information and talking points about the bill, and I definitely encourage you to use those, as well as to the extent that you can add your own perspective or twist on it. That's even more helpful. One of the things that I've heard from a couple of reps on the House Education Committee about the written comments that they've received, the emails they've received from in opposition to the bill, has been they've been sort of floored at the number of unique emails and messages they've gotten about this, that they're not sort of form letters that have been just, copy and pasting, talking points from Reaching Higher or NEA New Hampshire. It's been, people really fired up, and also, adding that individual perspective. So I've heard that a couple of times, and that I will say in the past, I've had a lot of representatives tell me, if I get a form email, I just delete it. If it's just like, something that a computer, generated like that, they don't take that as seriously. So for folks who have written in and done that great job, your emails are that much more noticeable and that much more effective when you're sending those stories in, those personalized messages. It's really helpful. So thank you.
I was gonna say something I can't remember now. I don't know.
We do have, should I go into sort of other things that are?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say if you can go into some of the bills that we're kind of flagging and watching, just so people know what they are. I know you send out the legislative update every week, and I know people get it, but just some of the other things that we're flagging to kind of keep in mind, I guess, would be the biggest thing right now.
Sure. Well, in this week, there's still a lot coming up. One of the biggest things is on Thursday is we're going to be watching very closely the governor's budget address. He's going to be delivering that at noon on Thursday. As most of you know, I mean, the budget is, usually the most important bill out there that gets passed. And that, you can't divorce. We were talking about this at our meeting last night, sort of, that you can't divorce education and education funding, and that means what happens to it in the budget. And the governor has hinted in his inaugural address about a couple of things. One is that he says we have great public schools, and we need to have more equity in a phrase like equity in the funding, or balance in the funding. And we think he was sort of referring to the state share and the local share, which is encouraging. But he also, went into a lot of verbiage about quote unquote school choice, which we know what that means. So we'll be watching very closely to see if he actually puts something in the state budget, in the trailer bill to the budget, which contains all the legislative language that makes the numbers work. Whether he includes something like a voucher program in there. You know, it's not uncommon for governors to include major policy priorities of theirs in the budget. And so that is something that we'll be watching very closely for, as well as, you know, what do the funding levels look like. A bill that we supported earlier today in House Finance, House Bill 623, would say that the next couple of years of state adequacy money isn't going to go below what it was 2 years ago. So it wouldn't count the unique drop in enrollment that we saw in the fall, this past fall, because of people, for health reasons, you know, pulling their kids out of school, you know, making another school location decision because of COVID. And that's going to be really important because, you know, that overall across the state is if they don't do anything, is a $90 million hit to state aid. So significant money in 1 year that will really affect at the local level. I'm sure some of you are already hearing or seeing evidence of that as deliberative sessions are happening right now and town meetings are getting ready to happen. You know, we're urging the state to expedite that kind of legislation because, you know, districts are going to need to be making decisions about the upcoming year. And yes, there's been a lot of aid coming in from the federal government. We think there's going to be more, but a lot of that is restricted to specifically COVID-related uses and not the ongoing, you know, operation that's normally just a part of the school district budget. So there are, you know, several other major issues that, you know, a lot of it has to do with funding. We know that air quality in schools has been a problem before the pandemic. It was a problem during the pandemic because of an airborne pathogen that is easily transmittable. This afternoon, we testified in Senate Finance about a $20 million fund to help school districts improve their air quality. And that was exactly the message that we delivered was, you know, this was a problem before COVID-19 because you had hot buildings and poor circulation of air. It's especially a problem during COVID, but because it's also creating the conditions for transmitting the disease. But, you know, it's something that we should do and help school districts. So in addition to vouchers, there are some sort of positive or rescuing that we're trying to do of the situation that we're in. But as George said, there, you know, you can follow a lot of these issues on our tracker, and then make sure you receive the legislative update I do that goes out over the weekend, because that usually goes a little bit more in depth on what specifically happened that week. And there are a lot of bills. There was over 850 bills filed this year. You know, we're following probably around 150 of them, and that have something to do with schools, and they don't all rise to the level of maybe, you know, completely transforming our education system, but they do impact. They're there because in some way, whether it's, you know, bargaining or education policy or funding, some way it impacts you as educators or as working families. So I'll close there and maybe we go to questions after that, or?
I just wanted to add in something if I could. I wanted everyone to know that we have not given up on the other things we've been following. There's a lot of stuff that's in the air right now with NEA New Hampshire besides the legislative initiatives. There's the vaccinations. We haven't given up on that. We're still, going into that. I had a meeting on Friday night. George had one on Monday. And today NEA released their results on a nationwide polling they did for vaccinations and educators and how they felt about it, who's being vaccinated, all that stuff. So I'm actually getting interviewed tomorrow morning for half an hour, and it's on educators going back into the schools, looking at vaccinations, things like that. So I'm going to be using all the points that we've gathered from educators across New Hampshire and also the NEA national points. So that'll get out there. It's I can't remember the group that it's with, but they have about 17 different news groups that go into this one place that I'm getting interviewed on. It sounds a lot weirder than it is. I've talked to them before, but I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, so that's tomorrow morning. So that'll be good. So we haven't forgotten about vaccinations. We're still fighting that fight. I'm trying to think. All the legislation is up in the air. There's things going on behind the scenes. So we haven't given up on everything else that we've been fighting for you guys. It's still there. It's just different things take to, center stage at different points. And now that the governor's not as mad at us anymore, he doesn't mention us every press conference. We didn't even get mentioned today, which I'm a little offended by. I actually was, I have this, I have a North Face hat, black hat that I wear when I go skiing, and I look like a little thug in it. And I think I'm going to start wearing it when I, go on interviews about the governor and just be called the Union Thug, because I think we need to bring that back. I think we've lost that. And I think we need to bring back the whole Union Thug image. But anyway, so we are still fighting all those things. They haven't dropped, but they're just not as loud. So we'll leave it at that for now. But yeah, do you have questions about things going on, or where do you find all this stuff? I mean, we can show you on the New Hampshire Gov website if you're not sure where to find all these bills and the calendars of everything. It took me a while to figure out. I thought Rick for the longest time was just magic and he knew where to get all this stuff. And then I found out anybody can find it. And I started getting it on my own. So we can, we are helpful union guys and gals. We're just union thugs. But if you want, we can show you that. I don't know. Do you have questions about anything, or what do you want to know about? I mean, I think we're representing everybody the way we want to. Tea House, you want to know about the house, the Tuttle house? It's crazy. I think it's crazier than the legislature half days.
Well,
Questions?
if there aren't any questions, I'd say in addition
Cindy?
to.
Oh, do you have a question, Cindy? Can you unmute Cindy, George?
Everyone should be able to unmute
those
themselves.
helpful union gals. I get it. I am a union thug. I think we need stickers or something made up for that. That's awesome. I didn't even put that together.
Of the budget committee.
Can you unmute
Everyone
Cindy?
can unmute themselves. You can unmute yourselves if you needed to. So that's.
No, you can't. She can't. Can you unmute her?
Misty?
No,
You do.
Cindy.
Cindy.
Cindy Boyle. Misty, I'm not worried about talking.
There we go.
In
Now
a
I
good
forgot
way,
the
Misty.
question.
Yeah, you forgot it. Vaccinations, legislation.
Well, the vaccination thing is kind of that's a hot button issue for me because I'm actually in 1B.
Oh, good. Go get vaccinated.
However, my doctor said they filed the paperwork. I'm still waiting to hear from the state. They filed 2 weeks. I have not heard. I already have other people that I know who are also in 1B, who already been contacted and or already have been signed up for, so I'm still waiting.
He did mention you, not specifically, but he did mention you at the press conference today, and his excuse was that when your doctor did it, they might have missed a field. They might be a missing zip code, there might be a missing email address, but they are supposed to be tracking you down by Friday is what he promised. Now,
Friday, okay.
if you want, if you have the time, dial 211 and leave it on speaker until they come on and explain the situation, and they will set up a vaccination site and a time for you. But it could be 15 minutes, it could be 45 minutes on.
Yeah, that's true. And it's the one thing I'm at school.
I know. I don't know if it's 24 hours. I don't know how late they're open, but
Yeah.
that is that he did mention that, and it seemed a little weak to me to say that.
Well, this whole thing has been lame from the get-go. So
Don't worry, Cindy. Today he did admit today that last week there was some snafus. That was the first thing he said in the press conference today. That you know there were a few snafus. So don't worry. You got it taken care of.
yeah, you know what snafu stands for, right?
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know what thug stood for, so George can tell me later. Oh, there you go. I'm just gonna. I actually want to tweet out a proud union thug. Can I do that? I won't tweet out snafu. What was it?
That one you don't tweet out.
No.
I think I am going to tweet out though that I'm a proud union thug.
We've got some good press going right now.
Oh my God, people love my tweets.
The former president of the firefighters' Twitter handle was Bald Union Thug.
Yeah, exactly. So I can do that, mine. Oh, they do have their own. They're not using VAMs anymore. I thought it wasn't up and running yet. That's great news if it is, Nancy.
They're moving towards it. Yes. Just so you guys know, make me watch all the governor's presses. That's why I'm up on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell everyone that when I was on, I sent out a thing to all the presidents. We're the only state right now that is looking at local vouchers. So, first in the nation, we got to keep that up for New Hampshire. South Carolina is looking at it, which doesn't give us much hope if they're in the same fight we're in. I love people from South Carolina, but their education system is not.
Their education system has been in the toilet since I was in school.
There you go.
In Virginia.
Right. So, I mean, the educators are doing great, but they don't really have too much. So they're kind of doing the same thing we are. And the thing is, all of this is happening nationally, which I'm not saying it to make anybody feel better. Iowa's going through the same fight we are with vouchers. And Nebraska's going through the same fight we are with vouchers. I mean, it's all over the place. And so, yeah, we just have to keep doing what we're doing and just keep getting it out there, keep fighting it, keep trying to, do the best we can. Tell people about this podcast tonight, this talk. They can go on and they can look at it. I mean, they can email at any time, any one of us. Brian and I, anytime we'll get back to eventually. I can't guarantee it was that day, but within a day or two, we'll get back to everybody. But yeah, sign up in opposition. Get everybody to do it. It's easy enough to do.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you had this because I wasn't sure when I saw that sign up in opposition and I saw all this other stuff going on. I wasn't sure. I had other things going on at the time too. Otherwise, I would have signed up at that point. But I had some other issues that I had to deal with.
No problem. I'm glad we were able to have this, and I'm glad you're able to come on and get it. So it's really easy, right? I mean, so easy to sign up.
Yeah, well, now they're not going to get me off that site, so.
Good. That's what we like.
Last thing to add, Megan, is just that, eventually this big day is going to be on February 24th and 25th is going to be the next House session. And so, but you don't have to wait for that to contact your local representative about, being opposed to House Bill 20, especially because they're all going to have a vote on this. And we are trying to claw, especially if they're a Republican, but even if they're a Democrat, let them know because we also want people there. We want high attendance for the people who agree with us. So whether it's a Republican or Democrat, please call, email them, urge them to vote against voucher bill, you can use the talking points on the action page, and because may very well be a very, very close vote, and so every single vote is going to count on this one. So
Okay, well,
Okay.
unless